morning folks, welcome to episode 14 of the Eva Christie handknitting podcast with me, Eva. It is the 11th of July 2016. I'm coming to you from Perth in Scotland and I'm broadcasting once again in my garden. It's the only place that we've got decent light at the minute. The house just is so completely gloomy. It's been torrential weather over the weekend. We've got a massive music festival that happens annually in Perthshire, which is known as Tea in the Park, and there were several jokes going around this weekend basically just going tea in the ark because the rain really was that bad. So glad that I didn't have a ticket, that I didn't go, because I've just got visions of swamp basically, and maybe it's my age, but that's just no fun. It's really got to be something spectacular before you go and put yourself through that, as far as I'm concerned. So we'll see how it goes. I wouldn't be surprised if it starts raining again. The garden, the grass, the gravel, the paths, everything is absolutely sodden. I'm trying to balance everything that I've got for you on my lap and on a table just to the side here. So we'll just see how we get on. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So you'll find me all over social media. I'm Eva Christie Handknitting on Facebook and Tumblr. I'm at Eva Knits on Twitter. I'm Pan Within on Ravelry, and we have a Ravelry group called the Eva Christie Handknitting Podcast, which you'll find if you go up into the groups tabs and pop that in. My podcast, it's a podcast about knitting and novels and other cultural pursuits. If you are a returning viewer, then thank you very much. Much love to you. I'm obviously doing something right that you enjoy it and you want to keep coming back, and if you're a new viewer then I do hope you enjoy and consider hitting the subscribe button and giving us a like as well, just so that we get a wee bit more visibility here with our lovely little community that we've created. I'm looking down because I can see little Martha, who's one of my cats. She's just hiding underneath the chair that I'm sitting in. She does like to come sit underneath this chair if I'm out in the garden, regardless of the weather. So I'm going to give you a little bit of Ravelry news. I have spent a lot of time on Ravelry over the weekend. I have learned how to make things sticky, how to lock posts, but I've done quite a lot of other admin on the site as well. So I had said a while ago that I wasn't going to do any sort of formal show notes to let me know if that was something that was going to bother you. No one had any comments to make on it at all, so I'm going to take that as a positive, because show notes are just so time intensive, it's unreal, and I feel a lot of the time that you are just duplicating what it is that you're trying to do. So if you're interested in any of the sort of the items that I'm knitting or whatever, then they will, maybe not immediately, but they'll be up in the my projects page on Ravelry. I have made a what I am reading list on Ravelry as well, so I'm going to edit that every time that I finish a novel and I start a new one. That's going to be in Ravelry. It will have the most recent episode up at the beginning, and Martha here, hey Phoebe, just trying to jump up and see what's going on, aren't you darling? Hey? That's my girl. Writing down. Yep. Yeah, so I'm going to keep that updated. It's got episode 1 at the bottom of the list, so it'll have the most current at the top, so you're not having to trawl through. And then, what else have I popped on there? Yeah, we've got an Independence Day thread going at the minute that was launched last week. It's got the giveaway. I'm going to keep that open for another week and I'll draw that on episode 15, so you've still got time, but I will lock it just before I start to do the podcast. And I've also compiled an epic list of video podcasts on Ravelry as well, because there are just so many out there. There's so many new ones that are coming to my attention, and I find it's really difficult just to kind of get yourself out there and to kind of be part of the community. So please go have a look. All the big ones should be there. I think there's about 150 video podcasts at the minute. I'm sure there's a lot more out there. I've since found out another 5 since I compiled that list yesterday, so I'll need to edit that and I'll try and keep that up to date as well. So again, rather than me putting on my pod love, which obviously I'm quite happy to give, in my podcast. You've got a definitive list there, so even if you're quite a seasoned podcast viewer and you're looking for something new, the list I've put together is an English speaking video podcast one, because it does seem to be that is the kind of the common denominator that's used for these things. I'm just going to take a little moment because that was a lot of talking. Different mug today. I've got my Barn Owl mug. You probably can't see without me tipping it out, but it says Barn Owl in lovely sort of dusky blue, sort of cornflower blue writing in there. I'm drinking a coconut latte and dreaming of sunnier climes. We had one really beautiful day this week, and if you've been on my Facebook page you will see photographs of my helpful knitting kitties out in the sun. They were absolutely loving it. I got out, did a bit of knitting, did a fair bit of gardening, and then it was all over again. So a little bit of KAL news before we get on to all the good yarny stuff. We have our d'Urberville Along beginning on the 1st of August. So that's where we will be knitting a Sonntag together. Please refer back to the previous couple of podcasts for what that is. I don't want to kind of explain it again for some of you who might be a wee bit bored of it. There are plenty of free patterns in Ravelry as well, some fantastic paid ones. But at the same 6 weeks that we are going to be knitting our Sonntags, we are going to read Tessa d'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy as well. So that's another thing that I've popped up in Ravelry. I've got a suggested reading schedule which covers over the 6 weeks. It works out at just over 10 pages a day, but I've put them up by weeks 1, weeks 2 rather than sort of like a daily total. It is just suggested, so you can kind of go at your own pace as long as you finish. You have to finish the novel and the Sonntag to be eligible for a little prize that I think I picked out, but we'll wait. I'll just keep you hanging on that one. And our Glasgow Subway KAL is still live as well. I finally got round to totalling up all my meterage, and I'm currently at 3,417.9 metres. Which puts me, I think it's 80 something metres away from the next stop, which is pretty darn good. So without further ado, I've had to have a wee shuffle round this morning of my board, and it's not glitzy and all singing and all dancing because my time was better spent really updating everything on Rav. So I don't know if you'll see it that well out here. But this is the Glasgow Subway KAL board that I've popped together. So at Kinning Park, because they haven't told me any different, we've got the Spoy Knits, Shar Knits, Loozle, Mary Punk, Granny Sheep, Vivacia Knits and Mint Pixie. Further along at stop 1, which is Cessnock, we have Yarn Girl 900, Woolen Flute, Sam Glover, Miss Katie Ann, Whiskey Girl and Silverdale 11. Over at Ibrox we have Bobby's Mom 77, Tall Polish Girl, Handbag Crazy, Ladybug Lily, and then over at Govan we have The Yarn Goes On, and I'm at Partick. I'm just about to hit Kelvin Bridge. So well done everybody, just keep going, don't feel despondent if you're not getting that much done. It is a marathon of a challenge, and I do appreciate that, but it is supposed to be fun, okay? I had a little day trip. Start that one again. I had a little day trip out during the week there. I think it was Wednesday that I disappeared off, and I went down to Stirling. Now Stirling is just half an hour on the train from Perth, and it's got some beautiful scenery on the train journey. It's reasonable, it's about £8.10 return, I think. It's £8 something return journey. Stirling's lovely, lots of amazing architecture, really quite cultural vibes in certain areas of it. And they've got an amazing independent yarn. I wouldn't say, not so much sure if it's a shop, independent yarn chain possibly. I think they've got 3 shops, and there is some, you know, debate out on how you properly pronounce it, but I've always called it Macari Brothers. I think it was maybe not quite a year ago, Arne and Carlos went down there and did a wee class and such, which I just think is amazing. Unfortunately, I had a pop-up shop on the same day with some classes organised, so I couldn't skive off and go and join them, and I was absolutely gutted. But I hope to make it next time that they do come up, because they just seem like an amazing pair. So I went down and I was relatively good, and just bought yarn for 2 pairs of socks, because I really do need to get a wriggle on with my whole box of socks thing. So keeping on the Arne and Carlos theme, I am absolutely delighted that I finally, my goodness, managed to get my paws on this. And I hope the light's okay out here, because it was just dreadful outside. So this is the Arne and Carlos design line for Schachenmeier Regia. I think they gave them names. I'm not quite sure. I think the most recent ones all have seasons named after them. They're not doing 50g balls anymore, they're doing 100g balls for their sock yarn. So this was from the first sort of batch they put out. This is colour 03657. These are for me. These are so for me. I have been lusting after this sock yarn ever since it came out. My LYS just couldn't get their paws on it at all. It's been that popular, so it's, oh, the relief, the happiness. It's just amazing. Right, and these will probably be another pair of, I hope that's not too bright now that the sun's come out. These will be another pair of double knitting socks, probably another pair of the, I want to say cobblestones, but it's not, stepping stone socks that I've done before. So I have 2 balls of this, but I could only find one this morning. I'm in the middle of, well, trying to still reorganise my stash. This is Peyton's Merino Extra Fine Double Knitting colour. I've not seen this before. Look at those colours. Bright lime green, gorgeous sort of French navy, there's cream, there's greys, it's just, oh, awesome. So I've got 2 balls of this, and I have got 1 ball of this sort of orangey rust colour, which is, let's go and have a wee look, let's see what the yardage, meterage is even. £50 is 120 metres, is 100% merino wool. This will be the same, there's no names for them. This is shade 488, this is shade 125. So, heels and toes and main, because it is the same orange, although there might be a slight difference because it'll obviously be in different dye lots, but yes, I do like a bit of orange. Anything quite bright and vibrant, to be fair. I should really just check and give you the meterage on this. Sorry, didn't even think about that. It's been a little while since I've had any sort of real proper rehomed yarns. So yeah, 4 ply, 210 metres, and as you would expect, 75% superwash. Yeah, it's probably superwash. 75% wool and 25% polyamide. Standard sock yarn stuff. So excuse me a wee moment, just gonna blow my nose. Don't think I can really come off camera today to do this. Allergies in the garden, there we go. So that's rehomed yarns, and let's move on to finished objects, because I have a finished object for you. It's not been blocked, but it has been finished, and I've got my progress keeper in it. So this is, you ready for this, David? David, this boy, asked me to test knit, or rather he was looking for test knitters and I volunteered a number of his patterns, and he asked me to do his mittens. So I went for one of the smaller needle sizes and the bigger size mittens, and that's them. So this is my lovely progress keeper that I got from Winged Orange, who is Jamie, who was my swap partner in the Charlotte and Gus post-scrapping partner. So this is where I was before. So it's just below the thumb gusset. So I've done my thumb gusset and I've done up to the top. This is knitted in this foil yarn, which is the colourway formerly known as the Frozen Dancing Mermaid, and I have also added in, that sounds like somebody's got some wildlife. Yes, sorry about that if that's distressing you folks. I've got 2 cats, the neighbour's got 5, there's another 3 along from that. It's proper cat country up here, there's not much you can do about it from time to time. Moving swiftly on, this is Windy Rome, just to give it its contrast. So, yeah, really quite pleased with that. We'll see how it blocks out. David's pleased, and that's the main thing. So we've got that finished, and I'll show you the progress on my Cozy Memories blanket. I really just want to sit and knit all the squares. Right now I just get so much joy from this, and so much love from you guys about it as well. So let's see. So I've got this section going on. Can't quite get it all in the frame, but that's okay. So let's go over where we were before. So these are the new squares along this edge here. So this one here, sorry, stray ends all over the place. Okay, so this one here is part of a swap from David. This is Neptunian Dreams, and it's been hand dyed by Leonie of Rusty Ferret, who's an independent yarn dyer in Dundee. This has been left over from the kicking sack. This is the original colourway. This is the Sweet and Spicy range by Opal, and this is Star Anise. This one. This is just lovely. I hope the camera does kind of pick up and give it justice. Susan, thank you so much. Susan, top Polish girl and the host of One More Row podcast. I just absolutely adore you. If you've watched recent episodes, you'll see that Susan had sent me a lovely swap package. We have been communicating quite a lot through private messages on Rav, and I just absolutely adore her. I wish that we were closer, but we do live in a global community now, and this is a friendship that I'm really lucky to have, and that I just wouldn't have had if I hadn't been started podcasting. So yeah, this is, I think it's pronounced Koigu, and it's 100% merino, and it's leftovers from a pair of socks that Susan made for her sister, and that's so lovely that she thought to include sort of yarn scraps like that. So that's my blanket. I've still got some left from Susan. I didn't want to burn out and put them all immediately in my blanket, and then, you know, sometimes it's just the anticipation of something coming, and then just the joy of having, and I get so much enjoyment making my blanket. I just don't really want it to end, so I'm trying to eke out just her mini skeins just a little bit longer. And I've got another 3 squares that I popped in this section of my Cozy Memories blanket I can share with you. So the first up is this one here, and I don't have the details with me, so it's not so good. I think this is Regia. This is Baby Smiles. It doesn't have a name, it has a colour, and I'm sorry that I don't quite, well, it just has a number, and I'm sorry I don't have that to hand. Then I've got this one as well, and this is Regia 2. This is from their Jagard collection. And again, it doesn't have a name, it just has a number. But just look how fancy that pattern's up. I'm sure I made fingerless mittens with it a while back, and I'm sure they would have made epic socks, but just look how it miters up. Isn't that fabulous? And then this one. This one's yours, David. Again, this is the yarn formerly known as Frozen Dancing Mermaid. I'm not sure what it's called now, it's something to do with the storm. It's got some stellina in it, which I'm not sure if you could have seen from the fingerless mitten, but I'm not about to pick it up again and wave it about because they just keep coming off camera. We'll get some really decent photos of it and get it up on his page. But yeah, this is just amazing. So many talented indie dyers coming out of Dundee, it's unreal. I really want to support them, and hopefully we'll have a few more coming to the Perth Festival of Yarn on the 2nd of October. There's a Facebook page for that now, guys, so if you haven't gone and liked it, please go and like it and switch on the notifications so you get the most up-to-date news. And that takes me to the 2 projects that I currently have on my needles. Well, I've maybe got one more, but I haven't been doing any work on that, so we won't talk about that just now. So first up is for David of This Boy and Kirsty of Little Bee Podcast's Knit Along. They're doing a sci-fi and fantasy themed knit along at the moment. I am knitting the Flying Saucer by Sue Culligan. I've already done the base of my Flying Saucer in Pale Grey Merino, and this will be the top, and again the light's just totally gone, and maybe it's picking up okay and it's just the glare on the screen for me. This is just a standard double knitting with a bit of sparkle. The label is gone. I didn't have enough of this to do the entire Flying Saucer. And the label's gone, but I believe that this is James C. Brett Twinkle, which came out a good few years ago in a range of colours. Pound Stretcher did a cheaper version of it, but it was darker grey. So it's a light grey with silver stellina sparkles through it. So that's the top. So I've now got to pick up stitches and such, and I've got a dome to do over the top in this as well. So that's coming along. I think it's a 3-month long KAL, so there really is no hurry with that one. And then, as I kind of alluded to earlier, I really do need to just crack on with some socks. I am not going to have 12 pairs finished by the end of December. I mean, who am I trying to kid? That's for Kirsten from the Yarngasm Podcast's Box of Socks KAL. But this is sock 1 pair 4. I'm using Osterman Step, which has aloe vera and jojoba oil in it. It doesn't have a name, it's got a colour, it's 0245 and it is a couple of years old. So if I was doing the whole sort of 50 points or Gryffindor thing, I tell you I would be absolutely killing it just now because my yarn diet's been pretty good and I have been using up so much stash that's well over a year old. Some of it's been up to 10 years old recently, I tell you. I'm a girl on fire here. So this is 100 grams, it's your standard sort of 420 metres for a sock yarn. It's a 75% 25% blend, so it's perfect for socks. And I am knitting the excuse me, the Twilight pattern by Melissa Morgan Oakes. And I didn't even think, sorry, I'm going to have to take a drink because I have gone all totally croaky. I didn't even think, that's not much better, is it? Excuse me. I didn't even think as I cast it on initially that, hang on, this is called Twilight. That means, as long as I get them finished within 3 months, that I have a second valid entry for David and Kirsty's knit along. Cunning. So yeah, just by the pattern name, that means that this is totally valid. And there's other knit-alongs obviously I can enter in as well, other than Box of Socks. So here we go. I am so proud because this is the first pair of adult socks that I have ever made in an actual proper sock yarn on possibly the smallest needles I've ever used. These are 2.5mm These are Addy Turbos. I'm using two 40cm ones. I don't do magic loop, I tend to use two, and use Kat Bordy's udder needle technique, although it's probably got another name. But here you go. I've just powered through them over 3 days. 3 days I think it is, and that's not just been constant knitting. I've had lots of other things to do as well. Loving the pattern, loving the detail. It is a paper pattern, so I'm not going to tell you too much, but I've got a 3x1 rib. I chose Jenny Surprisingly Stretchy cast on because it's going from cuff down. That's the first time using that cast on. I absolutely love her cast off. It's just as well because I do not have the chunkiest legs in the world, but I do have staunch Celtic women's legs. We are not all like drain pipes. So that's great, it fits. It's got a lovely little 6-row repeat pattern. It's really, really nice, and we just get a bit of variety because of the way that it is sort of changing in striping, that it's different all the time. This pattern continues down the foot. Got a reinforced heel. I do love a reinforced heel, and it's been a short row heel where it's been slip stitches and picking up and things. And there's the sole of the foot. So I just have my toe shaping now. So I've got my toes in Kitchener, and then I've got one sock, and then I'll need to crack on and do the other one, which will be fine because I do not get sock and sock syndrome, and I'm really rather pleased about that. So yeah, it's going to be great, and that'll be a second eligible entry. And I've already been looking through my stashes to yeah, what other yarns I have that could do this. I've got some lovely Crazy Zyberball by Shopperball that I think would look pretty epic in this as well. So getting on with all the socks. Okay, so other cultural stuff. I just started reading this book last week. It's about 4% through it or something, just a tiny, tiny minuscule amount through. This is The Hair with Amber Eyes by Edward Duval, and I think that might be the rain on, so let's just ignore it and crack on. I am now 52.9% of the way through this, so that's happening. And it's alright, it's got exciting bits, and sometimes it's a bit clunky, and the prose is full of big long fancy words. Yeah, so I'm just cracking on with that. I haven't done much watching of TV or anything like that. I watched episode 2 of 6 of The Living and Dead, which is the BBC commissioned psychological thriller featuring Colin Morgan, who was the lead in Merlin many, many moons ago. I've been listening to some audiobooks while I've been getting on with my #Stitching Revolution project, which I'll need to pop another update in Ravelry for you, and I can't talk about it here because it's for my beloved and he does watch my podcast from time to time, and it's supposed to be a surprise, and this time I'm going to keep it that way. So I only work on it when he's not here. So I have finished listening to Henning Mankell's Faceless Killers, and I've started listening to a classic, Effie Briest, and I'm going to completely butcher the pronunciation of the author's surname here, Theodore Fontaine. I know it's not pronounced like that at all, so sorry. That is a classical novel that I read years ago, when I'd quite recently started the 1001 Books Today Before You Die. I am trying to just purely listen to novels I have read previously and then revisiting them through in audiobooks. I've got some pod love that I want to give out, and hopefully I'll have time to do that before all the storage either runs out or... Yeah, it started raining, but let's just keep going. So, pod love. Tuscan Knits, who is Maria. I don't know if she's got Ravelry group pages, anything like that. We've also got the Pseudo Yarn Club, who is Terry, who is Fine Fish Yarns. I believe that she's based in Belfast in Ireland. I absolutely freaking adore her podcast. It's not one to listen while there's kids about because she is quite colourful in the language that she uses, but that whole sort of Celtic connection thing, I absolutely just love listening to her. She's got such a way. And the rain's getting heavier. There's also Skeins in the Sky, who is Kieran. He's just a young lad. Don't think he's quite at university yet. He's based somewhere down in England, and he's doing a fair bit of decent knitting as well. He's only got 4 episodes out, so go and give him some love. Maria, she's only got 2 episodes I think, and Terry's just got a few out as well. So these are all relatively new podcasts. Go give them a bit of a love. I've told you about the I've told you about the Festival of Yarn, so I won't go back over it, but go give the Facebook page a like. I wish you happiness. Happy knitting, happy spinning, happy crocheting, happy sewing, happy whatever it is you do. Look after each other, folks. Be kind to one another, be kind to yourself, and I will see you again in another week's time, and hopefully we're a bit drier. Bye bye.